Hare Krishna. Welcome to all devotees. Now we start today's Bhagavatam class. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tata Jayam Udiret Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhakti Nashtiki. Hare Krishna Dandot Pranam. Now today we continuing Srimad Bhagwatam Canto 11 chapter 20 pure devotional service. Shloka number 17 to 25. Nrudeham adyam sulabam sudurlabam lavam sukalpam guru karnadharam maya anukulena nava swatta iritam umana bhavabdimna taretasa atmaha. Yada arambeshu nirvinnaha virakta sanyata indriyaha abhyasena atmanah yogi dharayat achalam manah dharyamanam manah yari brahmet ashvan avasthitam attindrita anurodhena margena atmavasham nayat manogatim na sujeta jita prana jitendriya sattva sampannaya buddhya mana atmavasham nayat esha vai parama yoga manasa sangraha smrita hridayajnatvam vichana damyasya eva arvata muhu sankhena sarvabhāvānaṁ pratiloma anulomata bhavapeya bhava appeya ya avanudhyayeta manah yavat prasidati निर्विण्णस्य विरक्तस्य पुरुषस्य उक्तवेदिनः मनः त्यजति दौरात्म्यं चिन्तितस्य अनुचिन्तया यम आदिभिः योगपथैः अनिक्ष्या च विद्यया मम अर्च उपासनाभिः वान अन्यैः योग्यं स्मरेत् मनः. Translation and purport by the Srila Prabhupada, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The human body, which can award all benefit in life, is automatically obtained by the laws of nature. Although it is a very rare achievement, this human body can be compared to a perfectly constructed boat having the spiritual master as the captain and the instructions of the personality of Godhead as favorable, winding, impelling it on its course. Considering all these advantages, a human being who does not utilize his human life to cross the ocean of material existence must be considered the killer of his own soul. A transcendentalist, having become disgusted and hopeless in all endeavors for material happiness, completely controls the senses and develops detachment. By spiritual practice, he should then fix the mind on the spiritual platform without deviation. Whenever the mind being concentrated on the spiritual platform is suddenly deviated from its spiritual position, one should carefully bring it under the control of the self by following the prescribed means. One should never lose sight of the actual goal of mental activities, but rather conquering the life air and senses and utilizing intelligence strengthened by the mode of goodness. One should bring the mind under the control of the self. An expert horseman desiring to tame a headstrong horse first lets the horse have his way for a moment and then pulling the reins gradually places the horse on the desired path. Similarly, the supreme yoga process is that by which one carefully observes the movements and desires of the mind and gradually brings them under full control. Until one's mind is fixed in spiritual satisfaction, one should analytically study the temporary nature of all material objects, whether cosmic, earthly, or atomic. One should constantly observe the process of creation through the natural progressive function and the process of annihilation through the regressive function. When a person is disgusted with the temporary illusory nature of this world and is thus detached from it, his mind, guided by the instruction of his spiritual master, considers again and again the nature of this world and eventually gives up the false identification with matter through the various disciplinary regulations and the purificatory procedures of the yoga system, through logic and spiritual education, or through worship and adoration of me. One should constantly engage his mind in remembering the personality of God, the goal of yoga. No other means should be employed for this purpose. Purport by the Srila Prabhupada, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. Perfection of life. A human being is supposed to serve the supreme personality of Godhead, and the bona fide spiritual master is the appropriate guide for such service. The causeless mercy of the Lord Krishna is compared to favorable winds that help the boat of the body to ply smoothly on the course back home, back to Godhead. Lord Krishna gives his personal instructions in Vedic literature, speak through the bona fide spiritual master, and encourages, wants, and protects his sincere devotee from within the devotee's heart. Such merciful guidance of the Lord moves a sincere soul quickly on the path back to Godhead. But one who cannot understand that the human body is a suitable boat for crossing the ocean of material existence will see no need to accept a captain in the form of the spiritual master and will not at all appreciate the favorable winds of the Lord's mercy. He has no chance of achieving the goal of human life, acting against his own self-interest. He gradually becomes the killer of his own soul. The inevitable result of material sense gratification is disappointment and pain that sears the heart. One becomes gradually hopeless and despondent in material life. Then receiving good instructions from the Lord or his devotee, one transforms one's material disappointment into spiritual success. Actually, Lord Krishna is our only true friend, and this simple understanding can bring one to a new life of spiritual happiness in the company of the Lord. Though one is seriously engaging in the mind in Krishna consciousness, the mind is so flickering that it may suddenly be deviated from its spiritual position. One should then carefully bring the mind back under the control of the self. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that if one is too austere or too sensuous, one cannot control the mind. Sometimes one may bring the mind under control by allowing the material senses limited satisfaction. For example, although one may eat austerely from time to time, one may accept a reasonable amount of Mahaprasadam, opulent foods offered to the temple deities so that the mind will not become disturbed. Similarly, one may occasionally relax with other transcendentalists through joking, swimming, and so forth. But if such activities are performed excessively, they will lead to a setback in spiritual life. When the mind desires sinful gratification, such as illicit sex or intoxication, one must simply tolerate the mind's foolishness and by strenuous effort push on with the Krishna consciousness. Then the waves of illusion will soon subside and the path of advancement will again open wide. Although the mind may suddenly wander outside the jurisdiction of self-realization, one must bring the mind back under control by clear intelligence in the mode of goodness. The best solution is to keep the mind always busy in the service of the Lord Krishna so that the mind cannot wander onto the dangerous path of sense gratification, headed by sex attraction. The material mind is naturally inclined to accept material objects at every moment. Therefore, unless the mind is seriously brought under control, there is no possibility of becoming steady on the path of spiritual advancement. Just as an expert rider intimately knows the propensities of an untamed horse and gradually brings the horse under control. An expert yogi allows the mind to reveal its materialistic propensities and then controls them through superior intelligence. A learned transcendentalist withholds and supplies sense objects so that the mind and senses remain fully controlled, just as the horseman sometimes pulls sharply on the reins and sometimes allows the horse to run freely. The rider never forgets his actual goal or destination and eventually places the horse on the right path. Similarly, a learned transcendentalist, even though sometimes allowing the senses to act, never forgets the goal of self realization, nor does he allow the senses to engage in sinful activity. Excessive austerity or restriction may result in great mental disturbance, just as pulling excessively on the rein of a horse may cause the horse to rear up against the rider. The path of self-realization depends upon clear intelligence, and the easiest way to acquire such expertise is surrender to Lord Krishna. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 10.10, Tesham satatayuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam enamam upayanti te. One may not be a great scholar or spiritual intellect, but if one is sincerely engaged in loving service to the Lord without personal envy or personal motivation, the Lord will reveal from within the heart the methodology required to control the mind, expertly riding the waves of mental desire. A Krishna conscious person does not fall from the saddle, and he eventually rides all the way back home, back to Godhead. There is a saying that whatever goes up must come down. Similarly, Lord Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita 2.27, Jatasya dhruva mrityuhu dhruvam jalma mrityusya cha tasmat apariharye the Parihare the na tvam sochitum ardasi. For one who has taken his birth, death is certain, and for one who is dead, birth is certain. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, uh, you should know not lament. Mana yavat prasadati, until one has established one's consciousness on the liberated platform of perfect knowledge. One must constantly ward off the attacks of illusion through rigid analytical observation of material nature. The material mind may be attracted to sex. Therefore, by spiritual intelligence, one should scrutinize the temporary nature of one's own body and the body that has artificially become the object of one's material lust. One may apply this rigid analysis to all material bodies, from the fantastic cosmic body of Lord Brahma down to that of a most insignificant germ, as previously stated by Lord Krishna. One who is advanced in Krishna consciousness spontaneously avoids sense gratification and is constantly drawn by spiritual love into his relationship with the Lord Krishna. One who has not achieved the platform of spontaneous Krishna consciousness must remain constantly vigilant so as not to be grossly cheated by the material energy of the Lord. One who tries to exploit the material energy ruins his spiritual life and experiences varieties of misery. Although it is difficult to control the mind, by constant practice, the mind can be spiritualized in Krishna consciousness. A sincere disciple constantly remembers the instructions of his spiritual master and thereby faces again and again the stark truth that the material world is not the ultimate reality. By detachment and perseverance, the mind gradually gives up its propensity toward sense gratification. Thus, illusion loses its grip on a sincere Krishna conscious devotee. Gradually, the purified mind completely gives up the false identification with this world and transfer its attention to the spiritual platform. Then one is considered to be perfect in the yoga system. The word va is significant in this verse, for it indicates that one engaged in the worship and adoration of the personality of God and need not trouble himself with the disciplinary, regulatory, and purificatory procedures of yoga, nor with the grueling intricacies of Vedic studies and logic. Yogam, or the most appropriate object of meditation, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as confirmed throughout Vedic literature. One who directly takes to the worship of the Lord should not employ other methods, for full dependence on the Lord is in itself the supreme process of perfection. Thus end the purposeful prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Ena Tasmai Sri Gurave Nama Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Ena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vande Am Sri Guru Sri Yutapada Kamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavancha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Sri Vishwakanvitancha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhecha Krupa Sindhube Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Nama Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Dandavat Pranam. We try to understand Srimad Bhagwatam, Canto 11, Chapter 20, Pure Devotional Service, Shloka number 70 to 24. We hear before to Lord Krishna and how Krishna giving the answers of his question. Like that in Bhagavad Gita also, in chapter 2, Shloka number 55, Arjuna asking question, Krishna, and Krishna giving the answer from the 55 to 72 shlokas. Like that here, that knowledge which told Arjuna, that knowledge also here giving the Krishna to the Uddhava. We understand about the devotion, how we devoted to Lord Krishna and how we take the surrender of the Krishna's lotus feet, which means and which our duties that describe here. Prabhuji will tell you in shortly. वंशाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यः एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. हरे कृष्ण, दंडवत प्रणाम.
Hare Krishna. When we are on high seas and we are on a boat, the boat can travel and be successful in crossing over on the basis of the captain which is available. If the captain is good, then the boat can travel properly and it gets additional support with favorable winds. Now, Krishna says that this body is similar to that. This is the constructed boat, the captain is the spiritual master, and Krishna's instructions are the favorable winds. And so we have to use this human life successfully to get over the Bhavasagara. And if we fail to do it, then we have failed in the most important opportunity of our life, which we have got by the laws of nature. By spiritual practice, we should fix the mind on the spiritual platform without deviation. And if unfortunately the mind gets deviated, we should again bring it under control by following the prescribed means. We should never lose the sight of the ultimate objective of our life, which is Krishna Prem. And then, if you are able to remember that, then it becomes easier that, okay, just conquering of life here or senses is not sufficient. So we'll start utilizing the intelligence and we'll strengthen it with the mode of goodness, Sato Bhavaha, to bring it under complete control and move from the Sato good to the Shuddha Sato good. Krishna gives the example of a horseman, wherein if there is a horse and it has to be controlled, then we first allow the horse to do whatever he wants. And then slowly we pull the reins. And then the horse moves on the desired path. Similarly, Krishna has created this yoga process, wherein we carefully observe the movements of our mind, the desires of our mind. And that is how the karma yoga. And then we slowly bring it under full control to the bhakti yoga platform. Because if the mind is not fixed, then nothing is going to be successful. And the moment the mind is fixed in spiritual satisfaction, we should analytically study the temporary nature of all material objects. We should, till we achieve that level, constantly observe how there is a creation and destruction which is happening continuously. And when we start thinking about this creation, destruction cycle which is there, we ourselves will become disgusted with this temporary nature of the world. As rightly mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, as dukkhalayam ashashvat. And then this illusory nature of this world, this temporariness, will start getting detached from it and will guide the mind along with the instructions of a spiritual master to the right identification of Krishna. And then through various disciplinary regulations, purificatory procedures of the yoga system and spiritual yoga, education, mercy of Lord Krishna and his devotees, we will be able to remember Krishna, which is the goal of any kind of a yoga. So that is how we have to proceed further in our life. Hare Krishna.